Welcome to another episode of Out from the Horrorbox. I'm your obsessive host, Dom. Last year, we were reintroduced to the late 90s meta-slasher series with its fifth installment. It breathed new life into the dormant franchise and set up a whole new cast to hope they survive. This review will be on the 2023 American slasher film directed by Matt Bettinelli-Open and Tyler Gillett and written by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick. This is Scream 6.
Please help me. Just down there.
There's a line here, girl.
Can you...
You got a problem here, guy?
I had this secret. There's a darkness inside of me. It followed me here. And it's gonna keep coming for us. We share a certain history. This isn't like any other ghost face.
What is this place?
A shrine.
We've got to
Lure him in. We execute him.
Hello.
Let's play a game.
You know you're like the 10th guy to try this, right? It never works out for the dipshit in the mask.
Maybe. But there's never been one like me, Gail. I'm something different.
That's why I'm gonna shoot you in the head.
You want me. So let's finish this.
Guys?
College professor Laura Crane, played by Samara Weaving, is waiting at a bar for her date. She receives a call from the guy, confused as to what street he is on. Eventually, Laura is lured to the mouth of an alleyway. She becomes confused herself, and she doesn't see her date in the alley. He becomes distressed on the phone and says that there is someone stalking him. Laura goes halfway down the alley when Ghostface jumps out and murders her. This Ghostface is revealed to be Laura's student, Jason Carvey, played by Tony Revolori. Jason plots with his roommate Greg to kill the Carpenter sisters, but he receives a call from a different Ghostface. They go back and forth until Jason discovers Greg dismembered in the fridge. Subsequently, Ghostface stabs Jason to death. Sam Carpenter, still played by Melissa Barrera, is now living in New York City with her sister Tara, roommate Quinn Bailey, and twins Chad and Mindy Meeks Martin, along with Mindy's girlfriend Annika and Chad's roommate Ethan. They are played by Jenna Ortega, Liana Liberto, Mason Gooding, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Devin Nakota, and Jack Champion, respectively. Sam attends therapy with Dr. Stone and is ostracized in public due to an online conspiracy theory that she orchestrated the most recent Woodsboro killings and framed Richie Kirsch for it. Quinn's father, Detective Wayne Bailey, played by Dermot Mulrooney, calls Sam in for questioning as her ID was found at the scene of Jason's murder, along with the Ghostface mask used by Richie and Amber Freeman. On the way to the station, Sam is called by Ghostface from Richie's phone, who then attacks Tara and kills multiple bystanders. At the police station, the sisters meet with FBI Special Agent Kirby Reed. Played again by Hayden Panettiere, a survivor of the 2011 Woodsboro killings, and then Gale Weathers, played by Courtney Cox once again, who reveals that Sidney Prescott has gone into hiding in response to the recent attacks. Dr. Stone is murdered by Ghostface, who steals Sam's file and leaves another mask used in the 2011 killings. Ghostface then attacks the group in Sam and Tara's apartment, killing Quinn and Annika, though the rest escape thanks to the help of Sam's neighbor and boyfriend, Danny, played by Josh Segarra. Detective Bailey is officially taken off the case following Quinn's death, but vows to help avenge his daughter. Gale takes the group to an abandoned cinema she found while investigating, which has been set up as a shrine to the Ghostface killers, including weapons and outfits from each set of attacks. Ghostface later calls Gale at her apartment and torments her about the death of Dewey before killing her boyfriend and attacking her. Tara and Sam arrive in time to stop Ghostface from killing Gale. The group agrees to meet Kirby at the theater to trap Ghostface. On the subway platform, they are separated and Mindy is stabbed by Ghostface. At the theater, Sam sees a vision of her father Billy Loomis, who reminds her to defend herself and not trust anyone. Taking Billy's knife from the original murders, Sam realizes they have been locked inside. Bailey calls Sam and says he found out Kirby was fired from the FBI months prior for being mentally unstable. Two Ghostfaces appear and attack the group, seemingly killing Chad. As Tara and Sam try to escape, Kirby and Bailey both arrive with guns drawn. Bailey shoots Kirby, revealing himself as the third Ghostface. He admits to orchestrating the killings with his children, revealed to be Ethan and a still-alive Quinn, to avenge the death of Richie, who was his eldest son. Sam and Tara fight off the Bailey family, with Tara stabbing Ethan and Sam, killing Quinn. Sam then dons her father's Ghostface costume and calls Bailey using the Ghostface voice to taunt him, before stabbing him to death. Ethan then resurfaces, and Kirby smashes the television set that killed Stu Macher over his head, killing him. Sam agrees to let Tara live her own life more independently, and Tara agrees to go to therapy. As the still alive Mindy, Chad, and Kirby are taken to the hospital, Sam stares at her father's Ghostface mask before discarding it and following Tara into the city. Prior to the release of Scream 4, series creator Kevin Williamson claimed he had already mapped out Scream 5 and 6, but would wait to see the box office success of the fourth installment before signing on for any more films. In July 2014, Williamson revealed that Scream 4 was intended to kick off a new trilogy of films, but the film never took off in a way that he hoped. Williamson also said that he would likely not be involved in any further entries as the series director Wes Craven and his team were done with him. In Williamson's initial pitch, Scream 5 saw Jill Roberts being stalked by a killer at a college campus, while Scream 6 would feature Gale Weathers as the main character and deal with her relationship with Dewey Riley. In January 2022, Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Matt Bettinelli-Opon, and Tyler Gillette expressed interest in making further future films in the series. Courtney Cox would later express an interest in a sequel while doing publicity for Shining Vale. A sixth film was officially greenlit on February 3, 2022 by Spyglass Media Group. Opon and Gillette of Radio Silence would return to direct, while James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick would write the script once again. By the end of the month, Campbell was approached to return for the film. The following month, Cox had received the script and was courted to reprise her role. Also in March 2022, the sixth film's release date was set for March 31st, 2023. By May, plot details emerged, setting the film outside of Woodsboro. Instead, the film would take place in New York City. In June, Ortega said that the film would feature a more aggressive and violent Ghostface than in previous entries. On June 6, 2022, it was announced Campbell would not be returning as Sidney Prescott for the sixth film. The actress made a statement about how her contract and salary negotiations had stalled with Paramount Pictures. As a woman, I have had to work extremely hard in my career to establish my value, Campbell said, especially when it comes to Scream. I felt the offer that was presented to me did not equate to the value I have brought to the franchise. It's been a very difficult decision to move on. To all my Scream fans, I love you. You've always been so incredibly supportive to me. I'm forever grateful to you and to what this franchise has given me over the past 25 years. Campbell expanded on her statement a few weeks later, saying that she could not bear walking on set and feeling undervalued, and that the offer would have been different had she been a man. IndieWire noted Campbell had spent 26 years acting in the franchise and announced it was the end of an era. David Arquette stated, "I'd love for her to be part of it. A Scream movie without Sydney is kind of unfortunate, but I understand her decision. It's all a business in a way. They have to balance out these elements to fit a budget and produce a film." Jasmine Savoy Brown and Melissa Barrera, as well as former Scream co-stars Emma Roberts, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Matthew Lillard, and Jamie Kennedy, also expressed their support for Campbell's decision and praised her contributions to the series. In March 2023, Courtney Cox told Variety that she missed working with Campbell on the movie, but was going to support whatever she feels is right. In December 2022, Radio Silence commented on Campbell's absence, saying her absence affected the script greatly. They decided to use the change as an opportunity to focus more on the other characters, particularly the 4 young survivors from the previous film. They also mentioned how much they both love Campbell and the Sydney character, and that she could return in future installments. So let's move on to some trivia. Kevin Williamson revealed Kirby would have been back sooner, but the production team just couldn't seem to locate Hayden Panettiere. We're like, "Where's Kirby? We couldn't find her," Williamson recalled in an interview with Variety. "She doesn't have an agent. She sort of disappeared." Williamson says that he finally found an opportunity to get her back on board while filming season 2 of his series Tell Me a Story in Tennessee in 2019. Williamson met producers who had worked with Panettiere on Nashville. From there, it was all about connecting the dots. "I called up my producer in Nashville and said, 'Do you know Hayden Panettiere by any chance? Because we can't find her.' He's like, 'Oh yeah, let me call her,'" says Williamson. And then they called back and it was like, "All right, found her." It's so strange to think even in such a digitally connected world, people can still fall off and there isn't a way to contact them. I'm so glad that they were able to contact Hayden Panettiere. She's amazing as Kirby, and I'd like to see her come back for the next installment. At the beginning of the film, Tara mentions that she's thinking of joining the Omega Beta Zeta sorority. This is the same sorority as in Scream 2, which the character of C.C. Cooper, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, was a part of. I love when a series, especially Scream, references back to something a little bit more obscure, like the sorority house from the second film, or when Sydney mentions she's married to the detective from the third film in Scream 2022. Subtle references usually work the best because it's not so in your face. I honestly wish they would drop some more references to the third film. It's not the best film in the series, but we hardly see anyone bring it up. This is the first film in the franchise that has 3 killers instead of 1 or 2. It is also the first film in the franchise to see more than one Ghostface killer in costume in the same shot, and the first to have 2 of the killers attacking a victim simultaneously. I'm amazed that it took this long for them to do this in one of the films. That would have been a great twist for the third film, because the fact that one person was doing everything is a little ridiculous. Plus, this rounds out the number of overall killers to 12, and just looks great. Like, when you pull that scene out and you get to see just 2 Ghostface there surrounding one victim, that's like I think an iconic shot that might come up like years later, like, oh, this is the one where we had 3 killers. And then watch. I bet the next one, I don't know, we'll probably just get 1, or we'll just get 2 again. Or maybe they'll go for like the cult angle, and we'll just get like 25 people or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we'll get a whole straight up like city full of killers. The Ghostface Shrine features nearly 3 decades worth of items owned by or related to past Ghostfaces and their victims, including the costumes and bloody knives of the past 9 Ghostface killers. Casey Becker's rope, Billy Loomis's bloody t-shirt, Stu's red robe and the TV that killed him, Steve Orth's varsity jacket, Tatum Riley's iconic outfit, Kenny Brown's hat, Randy Meek's video store uniform, Mrs. Loomis's 2-piece white suit, Gail Weathers' books, the mask and sun props from the Windsor College Theater production of Agamemnon, Jennifer Jolie's fax machine, Jill Roberts' flannel and pants, Deputy Haas's police uniform, Olivia Morris's bloody long-sleeve t-shirt, stab memorabilia, DVDs, merchandise, fake costumes, among others. I love this. Seeing little things from the series is awesome. It's like seeing history and lets that part of your brain that gets endorphins from nostalgia light up. Plus, it also reminds me of like in like the MCU when they drop little things like this where you get like little Easter eggs throughout the movie, especially like in Thor when we got to see like the Infinity Gauntlet before, but it was a fake one, but it still showed up, whatever. I just love it. I love when we see these things. This film breaks a new record in the franchise with the highest amount of survivors. In the end, we see 7 survivors: Gail, Kirby, Sam, Tara, Mindy, Chad, and Danny. It's a little underwhelming when you think someone is killed off and they show up alive at the end, though most of all these characters are great and I'm happy that they'll come back. The only one that I'm like, why? You should have just killed her off. It would have been great to send her off. Would have been Gail. You just couldn't. I don't know why we just can't let her character go. I feel like she's been around for a long time. Like it's like kind of like with Dewey, where it's like I like that character, and like Sydney, I like that character. Gail's character, she's great until like the 3rd one. She's a little annoying, and then in the 4th one, she's not too bad. But then it's kind of like, why are you still here? I get that it's because she wrote another book, but I don't know. I just feel like it's like you could just go kill her off. It would have been great to send her off, but whatever, you know. What are you gonna do about it? Kill counter. So now we look at the many kills that Scream 6 has for us. The 6th installment has a total of 13 kills and makes the highest body count of all Scream entries. I'm going to say it right now. Most of the kills are pretty gruesome and brutal, which just adds to what you want out of a horror film. Our first kill is Laura Crane. She's lured into an alleyway and stabbed multiple times by Jason, dressed as Ghostface. This was the start of what would have been his and his buddy Greg's killing spree. The next 2 kills are Jason Carvey and his roommate and partner in crime, Greg. Jason finds Greg dismembered in the fridge and is stabbed by the true Ghostface killer. 3 more people are killed while Sam and Tara duck into a convenience store while being chased by Ghostface. 2 unnamed customers in the convenience store, along with the store cashier. I think they're both stabbed, the customers, and then he's shot with his own shotgun, I think, or something like that, because I know he takes the shotgun. I think he uses it on him. Damn, that's brutal. After that, we see someone knocking on Dr. Stone's door. He goes to the door, but doesn't open it. Ghostface breaks through the glass and begins to stab Dr. Stone. Ghostface is able to unlock the door, step inside, and finish off Stone. Then, as Ghostface is attacking everyone in Tara and Quinn's apartment, her gentleman caller is disemboweled in the tub. One of the saddest deaths is Annika. She is stabbed along with her partner Mindy. When Sam and Tara, Mindy and Annika barricade themselves in one of the rooms, Danny extends a ladder across from his window to theirs. Sam, Tara, and Mindy are able to get across, but just as Annika is crossing, Ghostface starts to shake and tip the ladder. Annika becomes frozen and is thrown off balance. Halfway across, Ghostface tips the ladder enough that Annika falls and slams headfirst into the garbage container. Gail's new boyfriend, Brooks, is killed off-screen, but his body is thrown through the entertainment center, causing a distraction for Ghostface. In the end, we have the killer's deaths. Quinn is the first to be killed. She is hit in the face with a brick and chases the sisters up to the second floor. Quinn is killed by a gunshot to the head by Sam. Next is Detective Bailey. After being knocked out, Sam taunts him with the voice changer and attacks, dressed as Ghostface. She stabs him over and over again, finally ending with a stab to his eye. Last is Ethan, who, after being stabbed in the mouth, comes back and is finished off by Kirby dropping the same TV that stopped Stu years before onto his face. And like I said, I mean, those were some pretty brutal deaths from the film, especially Annika, who, as a new character, like, I mean, it goes to show, like, anyone can die, but, like, see, it's like, why not kill off Gale like that? But yeah, there's a lot of, like, brutal, like, hits with, like, the brick, and then Annika falling into the garbage container, and then just the stabs and the shotguns and the bullets. Just, like, it's a pretty brutal movie. They decided to go a little more brutal with it, which is, I do like it. I do like that, because it just shows that, like, these people are not playing around. They want revenge. Since we have a new installment in the franchise, we have to look over every film and determine where it is ranked amongst the previous films. That's what we film nerds do. We have to sit here and be like, okay, which one's better, which one's not. Now that we have another one, we got to put it somewhere. And I think that's one thing that I love about film, is that you can always say and sit and disagree or agree, or you can always sit and argue why one's better than the other. So, starting at the bottom, in the 6th spot, we have Scream 3. This is still the weakest of all the films. Roman being the only killer, and very little scenes with Sidney, just make this an overall dull movie. It has some interesting characters, like Parker Posey's character and Patrick Warburton, right? I think they kind of stand out the most. And the scene on the soundstage with Ghostface chasing Sid through her old house is great. It's a great callback to everything. But the story tries to connect all the killers together more so than they needed. And I get that you needed to kill off one legacy character in this one like you did in the previous one. But killing off Cotton Weary, I think, was a mistake, especially because we didn't see him. We saw him really quick in the first one. We get to see his character a little bit in the second one, and then in this one he's killed off right away. I think you could have done a little bit more with that. But, I mean, it is what it is, right? Scream 3 is always going to be looked at as the black sheep. Coming in at number 5 on our list. I think I put this higher when the movie came out, but looking back, was it really that great? I think it's just fine and deserves to be at the number 5 spot. Scream 2022. With Scream, there really isn't a bad film, so putting it here is kind of a result of other installments standing out more than others. And this most recent entry also had like a lot to draw from, right? So like the elevated horror and the requels, and horror kind of going through this kind of renaissance, and with films like Hereditary and The Witch, and then, you know, that the idea of like the requel, like a sequel that kind of reestablishes everything but continues, kind of like Halloween or Texas Chainsaw. And there are a lot of great kills, and we do get to lose a legacy character in this with Dewey, and it is very sad. But I think it's kind of deserved. When, you know, where do you keep going with that character, right? How does he keep surviving in every film, right? It's something I'll bring up later on the list. It is a good movie that passes the torch to a new group, but even with all that, it just can't compare to the other films. At number 4, coming a year after the hit that was Scream 2022, Scream 6 continues the story of Sam and Tara Carpenter as they move to New York City. Overall, for a sixth installment in a long-running series like Scream, this film is great. Just like the second Scream, Scream 6 took the kills, the sets, and the characters and, amped everything up. We get to see Ghostface in a larger city, something that we really hadn't seen before. Him like fading into the crowd, like him just like showing up out of nowhere, when it gets super busy on the subway. And the callbacks and Easter eggs are everywhere, but at times can be a little overwhelming. And I know that can be a little contradicting from what I said earlier, because I do like the Easter eggs, but I just feel like when it's just blasted at you like the show, and the film, sometimes I feel like for some it can be a little overwhelming. I think the biggest thing that stops this film from being higher is the insistence that Gail survives. I think they should have passed her torch to someone else in some way. And this would have just helped to solidify that legacy characters are not safe in the series going so forward so far. It is what it is, although I would like to see something happen or something drastic happen with her character in the next one. Maybe make her a more integral part. See, that's the only thing, is just I feel like she doesn't fit in well now with these like younger kids and this new thing that's going on. And the only way to bring her in is for her to like write another book. And why did you write a book about me again? You know what I mean? Like, where else do you go? Okay, so coming in at number 3, this is the last film from Wes Craven and would have been the start of a new trilogy, but ended up being its own thing. It came at a time when all movies, in particular horror, was being remade. So instead of trying to cash in on a Scream remake, which honestly I really could have seen like some studio doing that, if they had the rights, they acquired the rights, they would just be like, hey, instead of continuing, let's just remake it. We can do Scream, but like now. And I'm glad that Wes and Kevin came back together and they decided that, you know what, instead of letting someone else make it, we're going to make it ourselves. So they brought us a new installment that we hadn't seen in over a decade. They knocked it out of the park. The kills are memorable. The characters stand on their own. And it really shows that with time and getting all the right pieces into place, you can continue a story that we all thought had been done. So this deserves the 3rd spot. So who's in that 2nd spot? Well, the mid-90s saw the death of horror, in particular the slasher genre. Wes Craven takes a look at the script for a scary movie, that's what it's titled, and turns it down. And while a while later he is sent the same script, he decides, you know what, I'm going to direct this. This is the start of one of the most consistent franchises in horror history. They ended up changing the name of the film to Scream, and cast a star to die in the opening of the film. It captured the way teens at the time spoke, and really put a mirror up to the genre to show what it had become. The meta-commentary and the satire breathed new life into horror, and without it, we may not be where we are here today. Scream is an essential horror film, and that's why it's still placed so high on my list, and was the number 1 slot for the longest time, because you look at it now and you're like, wow, it still holds up to today. Sure, there's some things that they do and say, places they work that aren't relevant to today, but other than that, it still works as just a fine film and a fine slasher film. So here we come to our number 1 slot. Over the years, I have been staunch in my rankings that the original Scream is the best. Opinions change, and I'm here to say mine has. Scream 2 not only ups all of what came before, it makes you feel the power of what these movies and characters mean. We see the original cast older and wiser from their experiences, and it is the first time a legacy character is killed off. Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson also started one of the greatest meta-commentaries, as well as the catalyst for why the series continues. It's the stab movies. Without the movie within the movie, I don't see the series going past the 2nd film. because, yeah, it amps up the meta commentary in a way that characters are able to talk straight up about the current film without breaking the fourth wall or shoehorning in like ridiculousness, right? They don't have to wink. They don't have to like be like, hey, we're not like if it happened. No, they can talk about it straight up because that's what these films are built around, and it helps to move forward. Look at Scream 3. Scream 3 is because they're making Scream 3 or Stab 3. I'm sorry. Look at Scream 4. The whole reason why they kill is because of Stab, the Stab movies. Scream 5, the reason why they're killing is because of the Stab movies. Scream 6, the reason why they're killing is retribution for someone who was killed because of the Stab movies. It is the driving force going forward, and this movie introduces that idea and that commentary that you can literally sit there and see this movie within a movie to talk about the movie that you're talking about now, to talk about all the movies. I don't just see like your head starts to hurt. Scream 2 is the ultimate sequel. It does everything that correctly and continuing the legacy. Now on to my final thoughts. Scream 6 is a great slasher film to start this year off. It takes everything from the fifth film and amps it up. Seeing Ghostface with a shotgun is awesome, though not used a lot. The callbacks to Scream 2 are great. This is exactly what a Scream film should do. The kills are brutal, and some of the deaths just have so much weight behind them. The only thing that was a little underwhelming is that Gale's still around, and I've said my piece about that. I feel like this movie would have been a little better off if they killed off another legacy character. I think people will gripe about the killers in the end. I have seen some reviews where they suspend their disbelief for certain things, but others they nitpick. So far, I feel as though the Scream series has yet to jump the shark. I think it is because Scream has just recently become a franchise. For about a decade, we only had a trilogy, and even after the fourth film, it was another decade before the fifth installment. So for me, the series has been about quality over cranking out sequel after sequel. That is why I stand behind Scream as one of the best horror series of all time. I love what the new trilogy is giving, and I honestly cannot wait to see what they do for the next installment. I really think Wes Craven may have stopped directing them at this point, but he would have loved the end product and given his blessing to continue. And obviously, we really miss him a lot. And I hate to continuously beat a dead horse, but this was such a good film. It's just a nice continuation. It's a nice film by itself. I love that there's 3 killers this time. You know, the Officer Bailey, or whatever his name is, his 2 kids, Quinn and Ethan, and just everything is put together, pretty logically. And there, like I said, I feel like there's certain things about it that people will complain, like, why would this, why would that, and that doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, but come on, this is also the world where one guy was able to consistently kill all these people by himself. I don't know. So this movie, this franchise gets 2 great big thumbs up from me. Wow, another episode done. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Out from the Horrorbox. I hope you had a great time listening to me rant about movies. Did you like Scream 6? Happy with the new killers? Should they keep making more? Honestly, I'd like to know what you guys think. Are you enjoying the podcast? Why not subscribe so you'll get every episode new? Because the more people who listen and subscribe, the more episodes I'll be able to put out for you. So if you enjoy us, spread the word. And you got any suggestions for movie reviews? Any horror content we should touch on? Or do you want us to read your scary stories, personal or fiction? You can always email us at horrorboxpodcast@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram @horrorboxpodcast. We'll look over what you said, and more than likely it'll end up on the podcast. Thanks again for listening, and next episode we'll discover what comes out from the horror box.